Hi friends, today we are going to learn how to wash dishes in the sink. As you know, most of us at home have dishwashers, and a lot of the times our families will just put the dirty dishes into the dishwasher and wash them. But some families don't have dishwashers, and sometimes dishwashers break, or you don't have enough dirty dishes to load up a dishwasher. So we are going to work on washing dishes. Now, the first thing that we need to do is make sure that we're starting with a clean sink. You want to look in the sink, make sure there aren't any crumbs or any leftover food or even dirt, because we are going to be washing our dishes. We want our dishes to come out clean. First step in doing that is making sure that where we're washing them is clean. So take a look. If it's not clean, squirt a little dish soap on a rag, wipe out whatever dirt is in the sink, run some water, and then you're ready to begin. All right. The next thing is that we need to plug the sink. Now we're going to plug the side of the sink where we're going to be filling it with bubbles. All right. And so to plug it, we just push down on our little drain cover right here until it clicks. Okay. And then we can test that by running some water and making sure that the water is not going down the drain. Now, when I say water, what temperature water do we use to wash dishes? That's right, we use hot water. So I'm going to check, and before I plug my sink, I'm going to make sure that my water is the temperature that I want it. And sometimes at school, it takes a while for our hot water to come into the pipes to our classroom. Remember, hot, we can tell on the sink is the one that uses the red handle or the red lever. And we want our water to be hot, but not so hot that it's going to burn our hands. Hot water helps kill the germs and the bacteria, so we want to make sure that we're not washing in cold water. But the temperature of the water is hot enough that we can tolerate touching it. All right, so my water here is slowly warming up. I'm just going to use my hand to test it, and as soon as I feel that it's hot enough to wash dishes, I'm going to plug that sink. All right, and remember that if it becomes too hot, you can adjust it by turning on the cold side of the tap, okay? All right, so my water is hot, but not too hot. So I'm going to plug that sink, and I'm going to continue to run warm water, hot water, down this side of the sink, okay? The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take dish soap, and I'm just going to squeeze a small amount. A little goes a long way, kind of like our glue rule. So just a squeeze, close the top, and we're done. Now we got to wait for the bubbles to warm. To kind of make bubbles, I just take my hand and swish it back and forth in the water, and it'll get our bubbles going. Okay, so we're going to make sure that our sink is halfway filled with water. So we're going to keep running the water until it is halfway full. I'm going to keep checking the water to make sure it's not too hot. If it gets too hot, remember I just turned up my cold water a little bit. All right, and when our water is halfway in our sink, I'm going to move our sink nozzle to the other side. Okay, so I'm working left to right. So all my dirty dishes are on my left. My bubbles are next, my other side of my clean sink. And over here I have my drying rack. Okay, when we wash dishes, we want to group like items together. So we're going to put all of the cups together, all of the silverware together, the bowls and the plates together, and then finally any pots and pans or cookie sheets that we use to prepare our meal. We do this for a couple reasons. One, we always want to make sure that the items that we wash first are the items that are coming into contact with our germs in our mouth. So that would be our cups and our silverware, like our forks and spoons, because we're putting them into our mouths. We want to wash them first. All right, so I am going to put all of my silverware in my sink. I'm going to wash that first. You're going to wash each item with either a sponge or a dishcloth. Today I'm using a sponge. And so I'm just going to put my hand, find one of the items. I'm going to wipe it off with my sponge here. And then I am going to rinse it in clean, warm water. So that's why I'm going to turn back on my sink. And I'm just going to have a little stream of water, warm water running. And then as I finish wiping it off, I'm going to rinse it, and then I'm going to put it in my dish rack over here to dry. So I'm going to take each item and rinse and put over here, and I'm just going to keep repeating this with all of my silverware until I am finished. Now, you want to be careful, of course, if you use knives, that when you reach for them in the bubbly sink, all right, you're careful not to cut yourself. There's another one. See, washing dishes doesn't have to take too long. In fact, I only have one more silverware left. All right, rinse it and set it to the side. Now, the next thing that I'm going to do are my cups. So first silverware, then cups, because we put the cups up to our mouth. So I'm going to stick my cups into the water. Okay, and then I am going to make sure that I wipe around the edge of my cup where my lips go, as well as the inside. Then when I rinse it, I have to make sure that all the bubbles are out of the cup. Okay, so that might take a couple rinses. Fill the water in the cup, and you don't have to fill it all the way. You're just going to rotate it through until you don't see any more bubbles inside, and then set it over on your dish rack. I have one more cup here to do, so I'm going to rinse or wipe around the edge where my mouth would go on the inside, and then I rinse with water. All right, and as I was saying before, the reason that we sort our dishes is so that, one, we can make sure that the items that come in contact with our mouths and have the most germs and bacteria on them are washed first. But as we go, you'll notice that the forks and cups usually don't have a lot of leftover food particles on them. So that's going to keep our dishwater that we're washing with our soap a little bit cleaner. And then, I don't know about you, but after I'm done eating, maybe a bowl of chili, or maybe we put a little bit of ketchup or ranch dressing on our plates, we need to make sure that that's all rinsed off. And then we're putting it in our clean water. So I'm just going to give these bowls a quick rinse. Otherwise, I'm getting my water dirty. And that would be the same as if I cook something in a pan or on a cookie sheet. You have to make sure that that all of the food particles are out before they go into the water, because it's going to make our water very dirty otherwise. All right, so same thing. I'm going to take my sponge or my dishcloth. I'm going to wipe in my bowl until I see that it is clean. I'm going to give it a rinse in my warm, clean water until all the bubbles are gone, and then I'm going to let it dry in my dish rag here. All right, I have a plate here. Scrubbing it with my sponge, rinsing it, getting all the bubbles off. Again, wipe the plate, rinse it in cool water or warm water. All right, and I have one more bowl here. Rinse the soap bubbles off. If I happen to be washing it or rinsing it and I still see that there's some food on it, it's okay to go back in the soapy water and get the rest off. Just because it comes off doesn't mean you're done. You have to make sure that it's actually clean. Otherwise, it kind of defeats the purpose. And lastly here, I have my pot that I cooked my meal in. So I'm going to take my sponge. Pots, pans, cookie sheets, those might require a little bit additional scrubbing, okay? You want to make sure that it is clean and that there is no leftover food in it from cooking, okay? And that's exactly why we wash them last, because it's going to make our water the dirtiest. And when it's all clean, you go ahead and you rinse off all of the bubbles. And you go ahead and you put it in your dish rack. Now, we're not done. I'm going to turn off my water and I'm going to drain my sink. So that means I just lift up the plug until all the water is gone. All right. When all of the water has gone down the drain, I am just going to turn back on my warm water. and I could take my hand or even my sponge and I can wash out the sink, making sure that there's no leftover food particles from doing my dishes. If there are, you could always take a paper towel and wipe them out and throw it in the garbage. Okay. I turn off my water and I take a look at my area. If there's water on the counter, I could use a towel or a paper towel and wipe it up so that I leave my kitchen sink nice and clean. I return my sponge over there. And now I can either let my dishes dry in my dish rack, or I can take my towel and I can dry everything off so that I can put it away in the cabinet. All right, there you have it, washing dishes.